Hey, we back. I'm here on Karuta today, and I'm doing a video on what cards are worth grabbing. What they might be worth burn-wise, or to keep, or trade, or whatever, because that's actually a lot that goes into that kind of thinking. And whereas bots like Medei have a very explicit value that tells you whether it's worth claiming or not, which is probably the Kakura value. Karuta doesn't have such a value, and so there's a lot more that goes into it. First of all, let's do a drop and see some examples, right? So I'm going to do my KD here, going to give me 3 cards. There we go, I've got 3 cards. So what am I looking for when I'm trying to decide what to grab here? Well, first of all, we've got the print number. Print number is pretty important in just how rare it is. Now, the difference between 12,000 and 34,000 isn't really huge, doesn't make much difference. But if you start getting something under 5,000, that means it's kind of rare. It's kind of early on. You might grab something like that. If it's under 1,000, I would say that's definitely a grab. Personally, I'm going to grab this one because it does have the lowest print number, and that's also because it's an E3. So there we go. I'm just going to claim that one because it's an E3. E3s are slightly rarer. You can tell this just by seeing the drops that you get. There's a lot of E1s. There's not so many E3s. E4s, which are currently still, I believe, releasing, particularly rare. So if you see one of them, definitely take it. Except in the situations that we're going to get to in a minute. But yeah, so that's the first thing that you've got to look at. What edition is it and what number it is it? Now, the edition is not the only thing that makes a difference to the print number. So, for example, it might be an edition 1 that only recently was added to the bot, and so the print number is still pretty low. I would take that over an edition 3 that's been in the bot for a while, right? So this is the print number that you're looking at, really. Print number makes a big difference, but not when it's so high. The lower it is, the better. But yeah, so that's the first thing to consider. The second one is the obvious one, which is just simply how good is the character. Now, you have to consider whether it's a character that you want or if it's a character that someone else wants. So you're probably going to want to try and remember roughly what popular animes are and such like. This is knowledge that you may have, you may not have, depending on how active you are in the right communities. But yeah, knowing about which animes people enjoy the most and what's popular makes a big deal. Personally, I had this knowledge before starting on Karuta because of Medei, and it's the same as the Medei rankings. Anything that's high ranked on Medei is probably going to be high wishlisted on Karuta, and wishlists is indeed the next point. You can do KLU to look up a card. You see how many wishlists they want. Most cards are going to have 0 or maybe 1 wish lists. A lot of people wishlist a character that has 0 wish lists, just because no one else has it. They can get the Koibito on it, something like that, you know. So that's kind of an interesting point. But for the most part, characters are going to have 0 or 1 wish lists. But if you get a character with more wish lists than that, obviously more people want it. And so that means 2 things. Firstly, the ratio between burned and claimed cards. Now, this is a pretty important one. This is pretty important, and that is because the more cards that are claimed and not burnt, the higher value it is in terms of gold. You want to claim ones that are high value in gold, of course, when you're burning them. So this means that you want to claim stuff that other people are also claiming and not burning, which is obviously like directly proportional to the number of wish lists it has. If the card's got a lot of wish lists, people are going to claim it and not burn it, which means its value is higher. This also means that the more value something is, the less people burn it, and then the more people burn it because its value goes up. So it's a bit of a feedback loop there, but yes, cool. In general, claim cards that people want, and that's just something that you're going to need knowledge for. This also, like I say, links into the amount of gold that the character's worth. You're going to want to claim characters that have the highest gold worth, and that is therefore the characters that are here, that have the most claimed and least burned. You can, of course, look up a character before you claim it and check these values, but in doing so, you may risk someone else claiming it first, which is probably not going to help you out. It's also worth mentioning that in general, when trading for stuff, because of course, if you're claiming stuff that's wanted, you might want to trade it, or at least maybe sell it to someone that does want it, if you, of course, don't. When trading stuff, the amount of wish lists a character has normally determines its value. Now, this is not an exact science, of course. Trading, depends on who you're trading with. But in general, you can relate the number of wish lists that a character has to the amount it's going to cost in, say, tickets or gems or whatever, in order to trade for that character. So you can actually find some exchange rates that will say an edition 1 card with X number of wish lists is worth this many tickets, and an edition 3 card with the same number of wish lists probably worth a few more tickets because it's a bit rarer. Of course, these things don't take into account print number. If you've got a really low print number, that's also going to make it go up in value, and so on and so forth. There's a lot that goes into it, but that's why we're making the video. Hey. But yeah, that means that when trading, again, you are looking out for wish lists and print numbers. So it all comes back to the same couple of stats. That's mostly what you're going to be looking for. Of course, if you are claiming a card and then burning it, you are not only going to get gold, but you are going to get dust. But as I've mentioned before, and as you're probably aware, you only get 1 dust per card, no matter how rare it is or how wish listed it is or anything like that. And the quality of the dust is just dependent on the quality of the card. This is entirely random. It doesn't matter whether you claim an edition 1 with 30,000 or an edition 4 with only 2 on the print number. The chances of it being a good quality is exactly the same. So what this means is that whatever you are claiming, you need to make sure you're claiming as much as possible, because every time you claim, you have a chance to get like a mint condition card, and then that'll get you a mint dust, which is worth quite a lot in itself. This just in general means keep claiming stuff. Even if there's no good cards here, it's all just edition 1 30,000 print numbers, just claim it anyway, because worst case scenario, you get yourself a dust and you're still happy about it. Now, that's not to say claim instantly all the time, because of course you may end up missing something. So personally, what I like to do is I look at when the last natural drop occurred, and do I think any other people are going to come onto the channel and drop in the near future, like, before my grab recovers, because of course it does have only a 10-minute cooldown, so that's pretty quick. So you have to think, do I think other people, or maybe the bot itself, is going to drop more cards in the next 10 minutes? If a lot of people have just dropped cards, and if the natural Karuta drop has just gone past as well, you're probably safe that nothing too good is going to go past in the next 10 minutes. So you can just do your drop and then claim a random edition 1, and at least you get the dust. In this case, I got a damage dust, so I'll be burning this card at some point, getting myself that damage dust, because despite being an edition 3, it's not really worth a huge amount. As you can see, we've got Wishlist 1 here, so I'm going to burn that card. I've added it to my cooking list, and I'll get a damage dust, which is worth having for the black market, of course. While we're here, I'll also mention that pretty much the same rules apply to what cards you should burn. I was thinking about making a separate video on what cards you should burn as opposed to what you should grab, but yeah, it's basically the same thing. I would generally say keep stuff that has a high wish list, because you might be able to trade it. How high is up to you. I would say maybe anything above 10 wish list is worth keeping, but at the same time, if it's only got 10 wish list, are you really going to be able to trade it? It's a bit of a balancing act between having something with high wish list and something that's actually worth having as well. So like if I had an edition 3 with 10 wish lists, I'd probably keep that. Whereas if I had an edition 1 with 10 wish lists, maybe not. Of course, it also depends whether I know the card or not, because if I know the card, I'm more likely to want to keep it. But yeah, at the end of the day, it depends on the dust that you want, whether it gives you a nice amount of gold and anything like that. Of course, the other thing that you can check once you actually have the card is things like the worker info. And I can see, okay, this card is going to have effort 4, which is fantastic. Do I want to keep this or not? Is it worth putting in my job board? In this case, clearly not. To be fair, it's because it's a damaged card, but yeah, I'm not going to be keeping it. yeah, so you can check things like the effort, you can check things like the wish list, you can check things like the dust you're going to get for it, and is it actually worth getting rid of? In most cases, probably yes, but that all depends really on your perspective. At the end of the day, there's no harm in just having a huge amount of cards in your card collection. That's perfectly reasonable. I don't think there's a limit to how many cards you can have in your card collection, but at the same time, you probably want some gold and some dust as well. So just get rid of whatever you feel like getting rid of. For the most part, personally, I like getting rid of a lot of stuff. You probably don't want to clutter up your collection too much, especially as it's difficult enough to organize as it is. But at any rate, I think I've pretty much said everything that I wanted to say. I feel like this video was also pretty badly organized, so apologies for that if I am indeed correct. But I'm just going to trust myself that I at least said things in a reasonably coherent manner, and hopefully you get the point, claiming cards that are worth having. So yeah, I'm going to leave this one here. Bye!